Hey summoners, and welcome back to another ProGuides video. In this video, we're going to talk about a pick that's taken the East by storm, which is Jungle Sylas. Korean pros have been spamming it in solo queue, and the rest of the world is slowly starting to follow that hype train. While they're beginning to pick up on it, Western regions aren't seeing too much of this pick that's dominating Korean Challenger just yet. We've talked about this pick over and over in some of our other videos and wanted to talk about it a bit more in depth today. By the end of this video, you'll understand the strengths, the weaknesses, and be ready to take him onto the Rift. But before we get started, make sure to go to ProGuides.com if you want to see huge and massive improvements to your rank right now. With the Pro Pass, you get exclusive pro courses, and ProGuides has a feature called InstaPro, which provides unlimited 24/7 on-demand coaching from the best of the best. Over 100,000 gamers have used InstaPro today and ranked up significantly. So don't miss out on this opportunity. Rank up now using the link below. Alright, let's jump into it. First, why are players picking Sylas to begin with in the jungle? Firstly, he's versatile. He's a powerful champion with many different options, he's a strong duelist, and of course a great team fighter, especially if you're able to get a big ultimate. He has mobility and extra tankiness packed into his kit, with a healing and a shield, and he flexes on people pretty hard, as well as great at clearing mob camps. In competitive play, the strengths that Sylas has as a champion and what he brings to the table is pretty invaluable. The fact that he can steal 5 unique ultimates while simultaneously serving as a good flex pick gives teams the competitive edge they need to win with. For typical solo queue players, Sylas is still a strong champion, especially in specific matchups or situations. Meanwhile, his flex potential under the right circumstances is also great. For example, when you lock in Sylas, it's likely the enemy solo laners will lock in a counter pick to him, only realize that Sylas is the jungler. This creates situations where your teammates can counter pick their enemy laners, and if you're duoing with someone, make sure you take advantage of this. Let's talk about a couple of those specific situations that Sylas thrives in. Firstly, the core of Sylas's identity is his ability to steal ultimates. One of the most dominant picks right now is Sejuani. She is a tanky champion who enables her team a lot and is able to hard engage with her ultimate later on into the game. In a sense, competitive play is currently Sejuani versus whoever counters her. Basically, Sylas is able to steal her ultimate and do the exact same thing that she does, while also being a damage and carry threat rather than being a tank. He's able to play more aggressively than her throughout the stages of the game, and while also threatening the same game-winning ultimates. This isn't specific to Sej though. Basically, in any matchup where the enemy jungler has low kill threat and relies heavily on an ultimate, Sylas is an anything you can do, I can do better champion. Outside of his own matchups, Sylas thrives as a counterpick to specific champions across all roles, such as Taric, Ornn, Kennen, Galio, and Gnar. They have game-changing ultimates, but Sylas is able to mirror their play and neutralize it. When an enemy Taric engages, thinking my team is invulnerable so we can't lose, you get to press R twice and say, same. Unfortunately, like all of us, Sylas isn't perfect, so let's mention his weaknesses as well. He is abusable during his first clear because he gets pretty low during it. He also struggles in 1v1s when he can't steal the enemy's ultimate very well, and being ahead doesn't help him much in 1v1s. He's only a really strong skirmish and teamfight champion when ahead. Sylas's jungle clear isn't slow by any means, but it's pretty dangerous. By the end of a full clear, he'll be pretty low, and he also has points in it where he could get killed by an invade. One way to play around this is by pathing to avoid the enemy jungler. If you know that the enemy jungler's champion prefers to start at one side, you can attempt to invade the opposite side and split the map. Or you can ward early on, that way you can spot the enemy jungler and adjust your pathing. In spite of his OP ultimate, there are times where it can be pretty lackluster. Champions like Master Yi and Udyr have ultimates that Sylas can't use very well. When fighting them, he's basically missing an ability, and an important one at that. In spite of being a team fighting and skirmishing monster, Sylas usually isn't able to snowball his leads effectively in 1v1s. His E is his primary tool for chasing or escaping, and it's on an extremely long cooldown. Even if you pull ahead and find the enemy jungler, it's not very difficult for them to walk away from you. Compared to the likes of Lee Sin, Vi, or Jarvan who can catch up to their foes twice, Sylas doesn't possess as much of a threat. Instead, you need to look for skirmishes or gank opportunities, because trying to chase down the enemy jungler is possible, but difficult, and you'll have a much easier time trying to force skirmishes around objectives. To help illustrate how to play Sylas, we're going to go over some general stuff about him, and then look at KT Rolster's dominate a solo queue game with him. As jungle Sylas, you'll definitely want to run Conqueror as your primary keystone. The power it gives you in teamfights and skirmishes is just too strong, and since you're jungling, you won't find as much value from Electrocute or Aftershock. These keystones are good for trading patterns in specific lane matchups, but because Sylas gets low in the jungle, taking advantage of Raptors and Wolves to heal back up is really nice. His passive, along with Hunter's Talisman, gives him insane regeneration while fighting camps with multiple monsters. Also, make sure to save Smite for Krugs or Gromp. Killing the big Krug quickly allows Sylas to heal off of the smaller ones, while killing Gromp faster allows Sylas to take less damage. As an opener, you'll want to take one of two approaches: early reset clear or level 3 clear into a gank. The clear that you can do with an early recall allows you to base for a machete in a control ward and also stay quite a bit healthier. In this clear, you want to start with your Q and solo your Raptors. Then level your E and move on to red, and then Krugs and smite the Krugs. After clearing Krugs, you'll recall, go back to your opposite jungle side to either contest Scuttle Crab or power clear your bot side. For your level 3 gank, you'll start your E first and then start at one of your buffs and take Q at level 2 and then clear Raptors and Wolves. You want to skip Gromp or Krugs because these camps deal a lot of damage and take a really long time to kill, and you want to save one of your Smite for the buffs or save it for a Scuttle Crab. After Raptors and Wolves, clear your second buff and then look for a gank and transition that into the Scuttle Crab, whatever side you end on. Alright, now let's move on to the replay where we go over the fun stuff. In this game, Oopty is playing Sylas into Sandbox Crush Elise. Elise's clear is safer than Sylas's, but they're about even in 1v1 fights. It comes down to whoever can land their abilities first. Sylas needs to avoid counter ganks by Elise, while Elise has a lot more safety in her ganks because she can repel defensively. To start the game off, Oopty wards the top pixel brush. This ward will allow him to see if Elise ever crosses the top river. This also lets him know if the Krugs are going to be counter jungled, so he can adjust his pathing and also inform him that a bot lane gank won't be countered if Elise passes by. He makes the decision to start at his red buff and smite it because he knows that he would prefer to look for a gank. Since Gromp is difficult to clear, he knows that he's adapting to this by looking for a gank instead. An important thing to note is how Oopty clears his Raptors afterwards and how he's using Hunter's Talisman to heal back up. Sylas's passive empowers his auto attack to deal bonus damage to every target around him. As a result, he can hit all of the Raptors and allow the Hunter's Talisman to drain to heal him by kiting. It's super important to do this, as healing off of Raptors will get you through the rest of your clear for Sylas. After clearing Wolves in blue, he spots a gank opportunity bottom and picks up a free takedown on Xayah. In the case that this gank opportunity wasn't there, he could have cleared Gromp instead and his smite would be back up, or he hovered his mid lane to protect them and then taken Scuttle once it spawned. Since the Xayah died, the enemy Karma decided to move into his jungle knowing his Gromp is still up. She calls over Elise to help her try to kill Oopty and they nearly pick up the kill. What this shows is Sylas's moderate safety. He doesn't have insane mobility, but he's still able to traverse over walls and his tankiness comes from his E and his W. The only thing that he needs to worry about is being close enough to turrets or teammates because he's able to stall a lot of time. After he recalls, Oopty paths top to his Krugs. He did this because he skipped them earlier and clears downwards. This is very efficient pathing. He can now clear his Krugs while his Raptors, Wolves, and Gromp are all respawning. As a result of him resetting toward topside, he now has a window to look for a top gank. Without vision of Elise, it's a little bit risky, but Mordekaiser is low enough for him to tempt the gank as long as he doesn't overcommit. Elise ends up reacting to this gank and paths to counter it. As a series of unfortunate events for the enemy team, Oopty uses Sylas's sustain to win the 2v2 skirmish. The next big play is a little bit past 7 minutes. After he resets, he heads top again to take Scuttle Crab. He spots Elise out on a ward, and this is a really good play as a jungler and specifically as Sylas. Sylas's big strength is skirmishes and teamfighting, so if he pressures with his strong side of the map, any fight that he takes should result in a win and help him to grow even stronger. As a jungler, it's simply a good play to secure deep vision for your winning lanes, that way they can continue to snowball safely and bully out their lane opponents. At this point, he's so far ahead that he has a full Runic Echoes finished while Elise is still holding her components. While she's recalling, Oopty pulls off a sick combo, using his Q during his second E animation, locking Elise in place for the second part of his Q. Afterwards, he notices that his gangplank has top pushed in. Since Mordekaiser is very difficult to dive, Oopty walks up to steal his ultimate and leave. The great thing about Sylas, like we mentioned, is his versatility and ability to take advantage of enemy ultimates. With Mord's ultimate, he paths towards bottom and ganks. While he misses some key abilities and the enemy Xayah is able to escape with her life, this shows Sylas's versatility and the range of possibilities with him. You need to be creative when you play him. A key part of being able to play Sylas in the jungle is simply recognizing high priority ultimates and taking them whenever those opportunities arise. In Oopty's case, since he was already topside, he didn't lose anything for taking a couple of seconds to walk up and take Mord's ultimate. Having it available opened many possibilities, and potentially set up his next play elsewhere on the map. Whenever you play Sylas, you need to recognize these opportunities as well as take advantage of any strong ultimates that the enemy team has. And since you're jungling, you can move from side to side. You're not limited to a single ultimate for for the first 10 minutes of the game like solo lane Sylas is. With practice, anyone can take advantage of Sylas' versatility and unique playstyle. He's a unique pick that brings a lot to the table and has a nearly limitless skill ceiling. That will conclude our Jungle Sylas guide. Thanks again for watching, and you can check out our YouTube channel or ProGuides.com for more content like this. On ProGuides.com, we've partnered with pro players to create courses designed to help you take your game to the next level, so don't miss out on that. Good luck on the Rift, and we will see you all next time.